Afia Business Morning. Business. Unusual.
Top of the morning to you. It's Wednesday, the 19th day of March 2025. And today, as always, we'll take a look at the commodity reports and activities from our selected exchanges on the opening bell segment. Business news stories from around Africa and the rest of the world will come to you on Global Business. We'll also take a look at issues affecting businesses in the southeastern part of Nigeria on the Eastern Business Report. And of course, finally, activities and conversations from around the markets will come to you on Afia. The Afia Business Morning takes center stage every weekday, 10 a.m. to 12 noon. My name is Ubong Kings. Welcome to the Afia Business Morning. Trading on the floor of the Nigerian Exchange is open today. The exchange in London opened an hour ago. The New York Exchange is yet to open, while in China opening bells went off at 2 a.m. local time. I want to welcome you to, of course, the opening bell segment. And away from this, we're going to be moving away quickly because of the want of time or the lack of time. We're going straight to our selected exchanges. And we'll start off on the floors of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, like they say, trying to begin at home. And right here, the NGX All-Share Index, as of yesterday, closed on a low, falling by 0.40% to close at 105,375.69 points. I'm also interested to know that a total of 349,982,645 shares valued at 8,221,164,227 naira 73 kobo were traded across 11,230 deals with equity capitalization of 66 trillion 78 billion 329 million 116,003 naira and 61 kobo. Now let's take a look at the biggest gainers and losers of the day. The biggest gainer of the day was Nemeth, which rose by 10%. Others were the likes of NNFM, Custodian, Senior Shore, and Guinea Insurance. On the other hand, however, Boa Cement topped the losers list with a decline of 10%. Other losers to follow suit were the likes of Ella Lakes, Regal Insurance, Wema Bank, and Ermatech. We'll take a quick break. When we return, we'll be looking at activities from other selected exchanges and talk about the likes of the New York Stock Exchange, the London Stock Exchange, the Chinese Stock Exchange, which of course comprises the Shenzhen and Shanghai exchanges. You have a business morning indeed opening bell. I'll be right back after this time out. Stay tuned. You're welcome back to the Afia Business Morning, and you are watching Opening Bell. We're going straight to the floors of other featured exchanges, and we're starting, rather continuing as it were, with the New York Stock Exchange. And interestingly, according to the charts this morning, it's all dips in index values across board. NYC Composite TJ is down 0.59%. NYC US 100 index is down 0.50%. Dow Jones Industrial Average down 0.75%. S&P 500 index down 1.29%. The NYC FANG TM index is down 2.77%. Nasdaq Composite, Nasdaq 100 both down 1.85% and 1.87% respectively. Away from that, the reverse is the case when we go to London Stock Exchange this morning, because it's all rises in index values across board. So FTSE 100 up 0.21%, FTSE 250, FTSE 350, FTSE All Share Index all up 0.23%, 0.21% and 0.27% respectively. Now, while we move over to China, starting off at Shenzhen, it follows suit with what happened in London. All rises as well. Shenzhen Composite Index is up 0.52%. ZSE Composite Index up 0.49%. The China's index also up 0.61%. And while we remain in China, we'll move over to the exchange at Shanghai, where the same order of events is what takes center stage here. It's all rises as well. The SSE Composite Index is up 0.11%. The SSE 50 Index is up 0.07%. Star 50 Index is up 0.61%. The SSE 180 Index, SSE 380 Index, CSI 300 Index all up 0.18%, 0.33% and 0.27% respectively. We're going on another break, and this time when we return, we'll be looking at commodity prices as well as a consumer price watch in the open market. And just so you know, very quickly, there is an opportunity for you to win as much as 25 million naira worth of prizes on the Brand Wars Business Game Show. Registration is ongoing and will end 31st March 2025, with registration and voting at 100 naira only. To register and vote, kindly visit www.fonzweb.com/brandwars or download the Fonzie app available on Google Play or iOS stores. For inquiries, call, send SMS and WhatsApp messages to 091 5533 4949. This program is powered by Fonzie and Landmark Africa Group, season sponsors, and supported by Afia TV, Afia 99.3 FM, Market Studio, Zoe Multimedia Studios, and our Balande Enugu. We'll take that break, and the Afia Business Morning will be right back. Stay tuned.
name is Ubon Kings.
I am Marvelous Akwamaga.
I am Chioma Akbala.
My name is Ifulaya Ndule, but I'm living in market speaking.
Back, and I am Ubon Kings. Still the Afia Business Morning, and you're watching Opening Bell right here on Afia TV. It's time to check in on commodity prices, and we will begin with precious metals. And incidentally, it's upward movement for gold today. Silver also up at 0.86% and 0.16% respectively. However, platinum and palladium are both down at 0.18% and 0.40%. respectively. Away from that, let's take a look at activities with reference to energy. This morning is a mixture of rises. In fact, as a matter of fact, it's more of rises than dips. Just one commodity is down, which is oil bonylite. It is down at 2.84%. However, natural gas is up at 1.82%. Ethanol is up 1.44%. Coal is up 0.41%. Oil Brent is up 0.14%. Brush River and Quabbel both up with the same values of 0.53%. Our next point of call is industrial metals, where it is the reverse as compared to what's happened with energy. It's reverse because it's all dips, except of course for copper, which is up at 0.41%. However, aluminum, lead, and iron ore are all down at 0.96%, 1.24%, and 0.56% respectively. Also, nickel, zinc, and tin all down 1.17%, 0.83%, and 1.19% respectively. You're still watching the Afia Business Morning, and this, indeed, is Opening Bell. And this will be the size of the package right here on the Opening Bell segment. And just so you know, I will bring you more updates tomorrow when exchanges reopen for trading. And just after this time out, will be time for us to bring to you Global Business, where we'll be taking a look at business news stories from Africa and the rest of the world. The Afia Business Morning will be right back after this time out. My name is Ubon Kings. right here on the Afia Business Morning. This is Global Business, and here we'll take a look at business news stories around the continent of Africa and indeed the rest of the world. My name is Ubong Kings. Here are the headlines that we're tracking at the moment. Starting off with business news stories from Africa, where it's reported that South African banks to deliver mixed verdict, as it were, on VAT, on budget, I beg your pardon. Airbus, on the other hand, leads to a call to create sovereign infrastructure fund. And to the world of automobiles, 2026 BMW China-made cars plans to integrate Huawei Smart Connect system, which is underway at the moment. We'll bring you details of the stories and more right after this time out. Stay tuned. You're watching Global Business right here on the Afia Business Morning, and we will begin with business news stories from Africa. It was reported that South African banks have been faced with a mixed response to budget among the country's banks and financial institutions, which was put forward last week after a month-long delay owing to splits in the government of National Unity, GNU. The African National Congress and its finance minister Enoch Godongwana were at loggerheads with its coalition partner, the Democratic Alliance, DA, in the weeks running up to the budget ever controversial plans to raise value-added tax, VAT, from 15% to 17%. Meanwhile, there were also fears that some in the DA, which sees itself as a pro-business party, that the ANC could seek to higher other taxes and potentially dent investment and economic growth. However, by way of compromise, Godongwana suggested in the budget raising VAT to 16% in 2 stages, where other measures include freezing personal income tax thresholds, meaning that earners will pay higher taxes in real terms as salaries have increased in line with inflation. Moreover, the budget was watched closely by South Africa's banks, which posted strong revenue growth last year due to the country's improving macroeconomic climate and stabilizing political environment. Now, I'm just going to emphasize or highlight, as it were, one key thing, and that's the place of value-added tax. Now, while it's common knowledge that all goods and services produced within or imported into a country, Nigeria, now let's use Nigeria as case study, are taxable except those specifically exempted by the VAT Act. VAT, as far as Nigeria is concerned, is charged at 7.5%. But, of course, we did see at the point that it looked like there was a clamor to move it to 10%, right? But we see South Africa at 15%. Now, let's look at these 2 countries in a little more detail. South Africa and Nigeria, by the way, while both major African economies significantly differ. Yeah, welcome back to the Afia Business Morning. Afia TV, you're still watching Global Business. Sincere apologies for that break in transmission. Now to the rest of our stories. And this time we're moving on to business news stories from the world of aerospace. It was reported that the European aircraft manufacturer Airbus, Dassault Systems, and more than 90 smaller European technology firms and lobby groups have urged European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen to create a sovereign infrastructure fund to ramp up public investments in cutting-edge technologies. The companies and groups say the recent US and EU developments and US measures underscore the urgency of Europe taking steps to maintain its strategic autonomy in key sectors which range from logical infrastructure, applications, platforms, major AI frameworks and modules to physical infrastructure such as chips, computing, storage, and connectivity. You know, if you ask me, I would say that I saw this coming. You see, doubts about US commitment to its European allies and competition from China have pretty much prompted the European Union to explore various options for jointly funding defense projects, energy networks, and pretty much critical medicines. Now, this explains exactly why the European aircraft manufacturer Airbus, Dassault Systems, on the other hand, are more than about 90 smaller European technology firms and lobby groups have urged the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen to create a sovereign infrastructure fund to ramp up public investments in cutting-edge technologies. Now, the question I want to ask is, can Africa, the whole of Africa, be this united against Western exploitation or perceived Western exploitation as these European technology firms and lobby groups have done? Maybe you want to think that through a little harder and a little longer. By the way, I rest my case here. And moving away from that, let's move on to the next story. And in an attempt to end this bulletin, let's tell you that the BMW Group is set to integrate Huawei HiCar, the Chinese tech conglomerate's car mobile app, connecting devices with vehicles to its locally produced new modules in 2026. The German automaker is teaming up with Huawei to develop smart applications based on the Harmony operating system for drivers of its vehicles using the tech conglomerate's devices in China. However, BMW is working with its suppliers to achieve more cross-cycle cooperation and promote the deep integration of local Chinese partners into BMW's global innovation system. Now, the question that comes to mind really is this a good business idea or not? It's not a quick answer, yes or no. You know why I say so? Because when we look at it, seeing the plenty tariffs by Trump, especially targeted at China and its allies, now you ask yourself, is this a good investment or good partnership or not? And that brings me to another question. How many Nigerian automobile producers can boast of this kind of stuff? Having a car app, so to speak, a car mobile app connecting your car to your phone, so much so that you can actually control your car, lack of better expression, control your car using your phone. How many? How many Nigerian vehicle manufacturers have that? Anyway, moving on from that and looking at what Infinity East did put together, it actually tells us more as they took out the time to look at how BMW is to integrate Huawei's HiCar system in China-made cars by 2026. Let's take a quick look.
Huawei's HiCar system in China-made cars by 2026. BMW Group has announced plans to incorporate Huawei's HiCar system into its vehicles produced in China starting in 2026. HiCar is Huawei's mobile application that connects devices with vehicles, enhancing the driving experience by integrating smartphone functionalities directly into the car's interface. This collaboration aims to cater to the tech-savvy Chinese market by offering seamless connectivity and advanced features in BMW's upcoming models.
In the loop. And just so you know, before we wrap this up, here is an opportunity for you to win 25 million naira worth of prizes on the Brand Wars business game show. Registration is ongoing and will end 31st March 2025, with registration and voting capped at 100 Naira only. To register and vote, visit www.fonziweb.com/brand wars or download the Fonzi app, available on Google Play and iOS stores. For inquiries, call, send SMS or WhatsApp messages to 091 5533 4949. This program, by the way, is powered by Fonzi and Landmark Africa Group season sponsors and supported by Afia TV, Afia 99.3 FM, Market Studio, Zoe Multimedia Studios, and Obalende, Enugu. You're still watching the Afia Business Morning right here on Afia TV. Coming next is the Eastern Business Report. The Afia Business Morning will be right back after this time out. My name is Ubong Kings. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the latest and most amazing show on here. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Lunch Break.
You don't sing along.
I did single.
For real.
You're not a backup singer.
It's a brand new week and another opportunity for us to gist and me to tell you, bring all the spice, all the things that are hot, trending and exclusive on social media. Sometimes I know there's constructive criticism. I know that you know how to quote it. So for the people that don't understand, I want to be like, oh, why are you doing this?
Please, I'm not a cross-dresser. I'm only doing this because of the money on Facebook.
There are some people you need to just tell the truth brutally. Let it hurt them. Give it hot.
Afia TV official, exclusive every weekday on Afia TV.
Time check, it's 2 p.m. and it's time for us to vibe, chill, and relax. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Lunch Break on Afia TV. So Lunch Break is all about the music, it's all about fun, it's all about entertainment, it's all about entertaining gossip and stories from social, it's all about the latest trends, it's about what's lit, it's all about the games with our guests, and yes, in general, I like to say it's all about the vibes and vibes only.
Welcome to Afia TV, your go-to channel for excellent news and incredible shows that keeps you IEI, that is, informed, entertained, and inspired. Need a break?
Ladies and germs, welcome to Lunch Break on Afia TV.
Join Choco to vibe and chill on Lunch Break at 2 p.m. for the latest trends in music and entertainment.
Not like I have big money.
Dive into the world of innovation and creativity with Rochelle on Unka.
It means art in English.
Where creative minds and groundbreaking ideas come to life. Tune in every weekday at 8 p.m. Do not miss Afia TV Official, your perfect dose of laughter, where they discuss what is currently trending on social media every day at 5:30 p.m. on Afia TV.
But in this economy, the savings will save you, man.
And that's not all. Stay tuned for more exciting shows on Afia TV. Catch us on DSTV channel 254 and GoTV channel 17.
Good evening to you, viewer, and welcome to Women in Business, a show that profiles women, executives, and even the next door store owners, showcasing Igbo greatness to the world.
I started always obsessed with books ever since I was a child.
The stress of always converting naira to dollar and
an incompetent means an incompetent person.
My name is Ubon Kings.
I am Marvelous Apamaga.
I am Chioma Okpala.
My name na Ifulaya Ndule, but I'm living in a market speaking.
What are your thoughts on the spate of sex for grades in Nigerian universities?
This very issue of owing salary should be criminalized.
How can they amplify their voices?
People don't have evidence.
You want to get to know about it? Have to stay tuned right here on Afia Morning Show to get the pulse and the feel of that.
This morning, this is the Eastern Business Report, which is designed to bring you up to speed on activities, policies that affect business in the southeastern part of Nigeria. It comes to you right after Global Business on the Afia Business Morning. And on today's edition, we're going to be looking at something, the place of the southeast in cash crops export. That's going to be the subject matter this morning. My name is Ubong Kings. Welcome. You're welcome back to the Eastern Business Report. Like I did say before the break, that we are going to be looking specifically at the place of the southeast in cash crops export. You know, I'm reminded that, and the truth of the matter, it really is, that agriculture is one of the most important sectors of Nigeria's economy. More than 70% of the labor force is concentrated in agriculture. It mainly depends on small and scattered agricultural farms, and the products that they yield are divided into two groups: food crops and industrial crops. The latter can also be referred to as cash crops or export crops. Now, cash crops are essential, very essential component of Nigeria's agricultural sector and economy. These crops are grown primarily for sale in local and international markets. Now, let's start off with oil palm. Oil palm in Nigeria, Nigeria actually happens to be one of the world's leading producers of oil palm. Now, oil palm cultivation is widespread, especially in southern parts of the country. Palm oil is pretty much versatile in various industries, from food processing to cosmetics. And in Nigeria, we have these states, southeastern states, being part of this hub that, you know, produces. There's Enugu, there's Imo, there's Anambra, and of course there's Abia State. And another one is cassava. Cassava is majorly a staple, right? It's one of those important root crops in Nigeria, and its production brings a lot of income for Nigerian farmers and processors. Imo, Anambra, Enugu states, yes, known for that as well. Now, cassava can also, on the other hand, just so you know, can be processed into fructose, which is used in the industry to sweeten fizzy drinks. You know, interestingly too, the question that really comes to mind is, how well have we been able to cash in on these things? Because I'm reminded that of the many challenges farmers face and the sad reality that our so-called, like I just said, cash crops aren't really cashing in for us. This is pretty much as highlighted in a report by the Voice of Africa. But before we take a listen to that, let me introduce my guest who is joining me on this conversation on the place of the southeast in cash crops export. I'm talking about none other than Emmanuel Chime, who is an estate consultant and a public affairs analyst. It's good to have you join me. Good morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning. Just before we get into this conversation, I saw a report by VOA, and they actually looked at these challenges and how it now appears that Nigerian farmers, most Nigerian farmers, cannot push their product out for export, and how it doesn't look very appealing in the export market. Let's take a look at that report. When we come back, we'll talk about this in detail.
Moses Diogo, a 59-year-old retired civil servant, has been farming for nearly 30 years. On his 10-hectare farm, he grows rice, beans, and peanuts. He hopes to expand production under the Earn from the Soil initiative. Diogo says with an equivalent of $2,000, he believes he could significantly increase his production.
If I'm able to get 3 million naira, it will help me more. Because last year I planted about 2 hectares of groundnut. But this time around, I said by the grace of God, at least between 4 or 5.
Funded by the Central Bank of Nigeria, the initiative has allocated over $32 million for low-interest loans to smallholder farmers, tax incentives, and plans to create more export zones for global market access. It is focusing on expanding subsistence farming into larger-scale agricultural operations, value crops like cocoa, sesame, cashew nuts, and ginger for export. Diogo says while this is a good initiative for farmers, he's yet to access government grants or credit support.
I have tried in such a way that at least the procedure, how to get this support. But I tried. All of these proved abortive. But at times when this thing comes, it is difficult for some of us to meet up with the procedure, to know a person, to this and that. Even though it comes, there are some selected ones that normally would not help.
Agriculture contributed about 22.6% to Nigeria's overall GDP and made up about 5.4% of its total exports in the second quarter of 2024, according to the National Bureau of Statistics. Abuja-based agribusiness consultant Bridget Okpokoro says there's room for growth, but infrastructure issues need to be addressed.
So we need to increase our capacity of production. We are not able to do that yet because the smallholder farmers are not empowered enough to be able to take on this challenge. Another reason why we cannot export is that I don't think we're meeting the standards of exporting outside the country.
Okpokoro says targeted policies and training to empower smallholder farmers and align with Nigeria's export goals.
If government can come in or other stakeholders can come in and create policies, for example, tax reduction, tax incentives, policies that will make it easy for the farmers who are ready to export.
For Nigeria to meet its 2025 goal of becoming a leading agricultural exporter, experts say it must turn ambition into action by educating and equipping smallholder farmers with modern tools and supportive policies.
Well, there you have it, and let's get back into this conversation. So quickly, I still have with me my guests in the studio and talk about none other than Emmanuel Chime. And the question I want to ask you really, based on this report and reality on ground, what are your thoughts on the Southeast when it comes to cash crops export? Are we making any progress, or are we still in that same quagmire?
Obon, the truth is that we all know we all know what it is today. It is quite clear that we cannot even feed ourselves, let alone talking about exporting. We can't feed ourselves currently. We are struggling to feed, and that's why we're having food inflation, that's why we're having high prices in the area of consumables. Okay, and for instance, as at yesterday, unfortunately, I did have a friend of mine whom approached me yesterday in the afternoon, and he rightly came to make a consultation on how he's going to be going into agriculture. He said you want to approach the Ministry of Agriculture, and of course to see if they can partner with him for agro investment. And he said he want to go into it in a very large size of it. And so I advised him on what to do. I said, okay, you can go and meet them, know the kind of programs they have on ground, and not just that, to know if they can also maybe they can assess you either machineries or hybrid seeds or thereabout, so that you'll be able to go into it. But if you want to go for animal husbandry, that is a rearing of animals, thereabout, then livestock, then you begin to talk about hybrid as well. If the state government can partner with you, then you begin to do that. But I told him, I said, I believe that the governor that we have today will be doing something so differently great. Because I remember sometime on that year's governor, if I rightly followed suit, I took that route, trying to see if I can make ends meet from that area, perhaps to create jobs for youths. So I met with about 2 different commissioners in the Ministry of Agriculture, but to no avail. Nothing was, able to come out of it positively. And so when we're talking about exportation, then we begin to ask, how are we being able to produce the one that is sufficient for us to consume, before we begin to talk about that of exportation. Then again, you begin to talk about the quality of what you are producing.
Yeah.
Because if you are not producing with formula, international standard, there are formulas. For instance, when you talk about animal rearing, then you don't give your pigs, whatever you see. Like today, what we do is that any trash you give to you feed your pigs, and they eat it, all right? And they will keep growing. And by the time we feel that they are mature, we slaughter them, we eat them. But you don't export same kind of meat outside the country. If you want to make exportation, then you begin to give them food, you begin to train them using formula. there are standard formulas you bring, and you give them through that formula, to raise them so that by the time you bring their meat, then it will meet international standard. But in today's economy, if you talk about going by formula, it's going to take you a hell of money, because you're going to be making use of like crayfish, like beans, like that is corn, which is that maize, maize seeds. You're going to grind all of them together with calcium, these, that. When you provide all this, then by the time they grow, you slaughter them. It's going to be the meat is going to be so costly that people may not want to really buy from you. Though your own is damn more healthy, but people wouldn't want to buy from you because it is very costly. People will be looking at quantity than quality. I'm talking of in our own economy today, vis-a-vis the reality of the biting economy that we have here. But when you want to export it to other nations of the world who have their quality control, they're not going to compromise. They're going to make sure that you're coming with that which meets up with the standard within their country. And so away from that, we begin to talk about security issues. How can someone at Ozowane, how can someone at a Hamofu now go to the bush to go and cultivate and make a harvest, and now projecting that he's going to be making exportation, when the person have gone there and could not come out alive into the bush? The person have gone into the bush to go and cultivate, but could not come out alive. And when the person have been able to tiptoe, go cultivate, and sneak away alive, and finally for the person to go by the time of harvest, only but to discover that the cattle realize have entered into the bush and cleared off everything, including that they will be very, very careful in uprooting the cassava roots, that is the tubers, uprooting them, using their cutlasses to break them down into pieces for their cattle to feed on. And so when such happens, what are you then going to, even to feed your family, let alone you begin to dream about making exportations? So when you see all these challenges, you begin to ask, what are the governments doing to curtail these challenges so that our farmers could be able to produce the one that will feed on first? Then we'll now start talking about exportation. But if not so, I will tell you, we have what it takes to make exportations. We used to have cashew cluster within Udi here, within Nsoka area. We used to have cashew clusters. We used to have all these. I mean, these are usually reserved areas. But you cannot go to these areas without being kidnapped. You cannot go to these areas and come out alive. And remember, Obong, I mean, it has been so bad that to the extent that federal government, under the auspices of NYSC authority, rightly even have to enshrine it into their book, and demanded that call the attention of the core members that whenever you are making travel, ensure that you communicate your family members, tell them where you are going, ensure you communicate them in case if you are kidnapped, so that they will call and begin to make arrangements for your release. I hope you're aware of that it is quite official. So the federal government on their own now told those that are serving Nigeria that if they are being kidnapped, they not call federal government, that they should call their families. So what is then the role of government, if not the primary role being that they safeguard the lives, livelihood, and what that belongs to the citizenry? And so today, when you talk about our agri sector, you talk about farmers who will go to the farm at their own risk. And if anything happens to them, it is to their own risk. And if they should now stand and fight, and maybe finally they sustain injuries, but they happen to manage to either get down the person that came to kill them, or that have killed some, and is unable to kill a particular one, but that one was able to overpower the person who have been killing. The next thing is that federal government will arrest you and sentence you to death. We have a case study, Sunday Jackson, okay, from Adamawa State. His own case now, it's not international community that is not intervening. The Supreme Court should reverse self. So for goodness sake, it becomes an issue. So when we are talking about exportation, Obong, no, it is very nice.
I think from what you said right now, it pretty much is clear that a lot of work has to be done internally first before we even start think about pushing anything else.
Exactly. Does.
So now, in the case, let's use Southeast generally as a case study, which of course is our case study. Now, we know that there were locations that were known for specific things, back in the day. We know there was this, I think they used to call it a DAPAM or something. There were other clusters like that, cash crop clusters. And over the years, we've seen that it's become more or less, I don't want to use the word moribund or, defunct, and that has not been very functional. Now, the question is, what do you think would ginger, so to speak, these things to come back to reality, number one, number two, and now place the southeastern part of Nigeria on a pedestal to be reckoned with as an international, so to speak, cash crops export community? Okay,
Ubong, it is very easy. If the government can today, make our fund available, then bring, advertise or invite youth. Youths are available. Youths are ready to get this done. Not like I told you about that of a guy that met me yesterday and was saying, please, I want to go into this. How do I go about that? I told him to go to Agric office here, and after which I told him as well to link it up together with that of SME Center at Enugu here too, so that the two, let's know the two who has a program that benefits or that actually work in line with a vision. But in this order, Ubong, Agric is something, Agric produce is something that no one in the world can do without. Everybody in the world, be you a tech expert, be you whomsoever, you must in one way or the other rely on the produces from Agric. Now, in this order, Ubong, if the governor, if the government, if our politicians, if our leaders, if our stakeholders will come together and begin to do something so important, something so nice, something so imperative in that area, something so attractive, call our youths, begin to make funds available, make allowable area of land available for that, you will see that these people will become encouraged. They will go into it. And as they are going into it, one, provide them with machineries, clear the area of land, make it a cluster, give them security. Give them security, Ubong. It's not enough that someone will decide that he's going to the farm to go and farm. There are people today who are going to farm to have maybe some small piece of land they are cultivating in their various areas. But these are the same people that will go. They won't come back alive. And nobody asks question. Nobody is arrested. And so if you give them assurance of security, because farming is not done by the side of government house. It's something you do in the bush. It's not in the metropolis. All right? And so if for so to happen, then provide them with security. If not for any other thing, Ubong, let there be a cluster. At least a cluster that the security will not overstretch themselves to manage. Give them security within that cluster. And now push these guys to there, make funds available. Give them at least machineries, give them hybrid seeds. If it is that of oil palm, Ubong, there are hybrid seeds. Give it to them. Give them those, there are a lot of things. If it is that cassava, there are hybrid stems. The ones you can cultivate today and in 6 months' time you harvest. The ones you can cultivate today and in 12 months' time you harvest, and you harvest a very bumper harvest. All right? Make those things available for them. And so after that, let off-takers be by the side. Let them be on standby. And so immediately this is getting matured. Off-takers are coming to, including off-takers who even buy it on the ground and now do the harvest and carry them. Or the cultivators will be the ones to go and harvest and do their sales. By the time you do this, and by the time they have the first phase of harvest and make their first phase of business transaction, from the proceed of the planting, then you discover that these guys will become more encouraged, and they want to do it more and more and more and more, and they begin to encourage others to go into it. All right? And by the time you begin to, as you are doing that, and they have, let's say, a silo by the side where they can always preserve. Let's say we have processing factories where you have other phase of the youths, working in that area in the value chain. And by the time the harvest is being made here, and they are being channeled to the processing factories, and the processing factories are of taking them, processing them into other use. And before you know what is happening, the ones that will now be in the transaction sector who are going to weigh into that same value chain and begin to repackage them for exportation or for local use. Then you are going to see where our youths will be dragging in, including the ones that are overseas. They want to come back here to come and invest in the agri sector. But by the time you discover that security situation continues to worsen on a daily basis, no one wants to come and do whatsoever in the farm. No one wants to do that. I'm talking about our farms behind our backyards are no longer safe. They are coming to our various houses in the villages to kidnap our wives, our mothers, our sisters, our daughters, rape them, kill them. And the government is not doing anything about that. If they are not doing enough. Because why we say they are not doing anything is that, Ubong, no matter what you have done, no matter how you have tried, if there are no results,
it's like
nobody
didn't do anything
at all.
I think that's a good place to leave this conversation, really. And then I think it's a wake-up call for everyone involved. You know, everybody should know that there is a dire need for a complete, I wouldn't want to use the word restructuring, but yes, that's the word that comes into mind. Thank you so much, Ivan Ochime, for coming around. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kings.
And this will be the size of the package right here on today's edition of the Eastern Business Report. And just so you know, coming up next will be Afia. You can do well to join in on the conversation on our dedicated Afia Business YouTube channel. It's displayed right now on your screen. You can go there and hit the like button. Remember, you should subscribe and turn on notifications so you know when we put up new content, new business content on that particular channel. Thank you for your time once, twice, and a million more times. Afia comes next. My name is Ubong Kings. Good morning.
Hey ladies, join us on Gyno Plus every Wednesday at 6 p.m. right here on Afia TV, DSTV channel 254 and GoTV channel 17, where we will delve into health issues affecting girls and women in society.
Breastfeeding doesn't even cause breast size. The frequency of breastfeeding means the approach you take to make sure that your well-being is maintained.